Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Fika for Life! My name is Edward Thomas and my co-host is
Linh Nguyen. Hello.
Hello. And we decided to invite back our special guest and friend from South Africa.
Timmy.
Hello.
You're supposed to say what your name is.
His name is Hello.
His name is Hello. They have no imagination in this family. It's like, hello. PP. You know, it's like, okay. I don't know.
My name is Timmy Mabale.
Hey,
Mabale.
Timmy. Welcome back. I like the way you say it. I know when you say that, he's like, your name is Timmy Mabale. For you ladies out there who maybe missed the first one, Timmy is single. That's why he talks that way. He goes, just so you know that he's single. He says, so hey. My name is Timmy.
Edward.
Yes, we will not be distracted.
Don't make me use your second name.
Whoa, no. It's like being spanked.
Okay, introduce our topic today.
Yes. Okay, so today we have a sort of a strange topic to talk about.
It's not strange.
I mean, strange in the sense that it's very specific. We normally talk in very general terms about things that become specific, but couples that differ on theological issues. And so we're just going to try to tackle that and see if we can add any insight, especially if you find yourself in a relationship with someone who, though you share the same faith, you share different flavors of that faith. And sometimes the flavors don't go good together. Like, I don't know, chocolate ice cream and
Curry.
sweat. Oh, curry. No,
Sweat.
Why would
sweat
sweat-
is not a taste.
Because you can get jelly beans
can
at the jelly
actually.
bean factory, and you can have sweat and vomit.
Oh my
It's-
gosh. Okay,
wow.
so yet you have insight from maybe your own relationship, but
Nah.
also from like counseling people.
Lots of others. Much
Yeah.
more interesting.
Yes.
No, because my wife's not a Christian, so
Yeah.
you already would expect there would be aspects of collision. But I get to counsel lots of couples
Yeah,
who are
that's what I mean.
Christian.
Why you do the
What the
duck feet?
because
Christian.
because that
What's the duck feet question?
because even though they're so it's kind of like, because if you're Christian, you kind of expect that, okay, well, we can accept the fact that we're different and still be Christian. But you get in a relationship with someone, and it's not always that easy because there's consequences of our Christian faith.
No way.
Yeah, like let's take baptism.
Like baptism. Oh,
Baptism is never an issue as long as you don't have children.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
And then once you have a child, and if you come from a Paedo Baptist background where you baptize children, or a non-Paedo Baptist background where you don't baptize children, and you get married, and you have a baby,
And that baby is
and one of them says,
getting
but
baptized.
the baby should be baptized. It's a tradition, and and we want to bring the baby to God, and is Jesus doing it anyway? And then the other person says, there's no confession of faith. That baby must say, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Without that, we cannot go in the water with that baby. And then you're at tension and odds with each other because you actually really strongly believe that your particular theological position is correct. And it has consequences for your life. And now those consequences are colliding with another theological position on the same issue.
And I think that many Christians are wise in the sense they're talking about that they are Christians, but I don't know if they're talking about so many specific things in their Christian faith.
I mean, like when they date, it's like, ooh, I just found me somebody. You're Christian and breathing. Thank you, praise God.
Yeah, that's the
I don't
thing.
care.
Well, if you...
Like, whatever flavor you have.
Whatever flavor
Oh my
until
goodness.
you open the wrapper up, it's like, what? They speak in tongues?
No.
Oh no! I didn't sign up for tongue speaking. It's like, but you got it now. Love it.
Okay, so one
Yeah.
thing would be baptism, but that's only relevant if you have kids.
Well, speaking in tongues,
Oh yeah,
That's-
it's relevant if you can speak.
yeah, because
What about-
well, some of the things might be your particular view on things like sexuality, on things like communion. You're the three major views of communion. Where one is that it's symbolic, the other is called transubstantiation, and the other is called consubstantiation. These are theological terms. One means that once the words of institution, that's the same phrase that we all say over the bread and the wine.
Something happens.
Transubstantiation is that it gets transformed.
into
actual blood and actual somebody's body, Jesus' body.
I don't want to know that.
I'm like, I've tried that bread. I chewed on it. It did not chew like meat. I was expecting some steak flavor.
It's not about that now. It's
sorry.
not about that now. It's
Okay,
about
but anyway.
like people have different views.
So people have different views of it. And then if you have consubstantiation, what happens is that you believe it's still the body and blood of Christ, but you don't believe it physically gets transformed in anything, but it still is. And the symbolic things is symbolically the blood and body of Christ. This may seem like a really minor thing, but this divides the Christian church
A lot.
really hardcore, okay? This is big.
But what
This
about
is
denominations as well? Like in you going to different churches and having
Well,
different
it depends because you
beliefs and
can you can always
practices
you can jump a denomination.
Did you say you jump on it?
No, not on. No,
Or
no, no,
at?
no.
At?
Like you hop from one denomination to another. So I wasn't Lutheran when I was born.
Mm-hmm.
I was Baptist, and then I became Presbyterian, and then I became non-denominational, evangelical, and now I'm like Lutheran. Well, I belong
Wow,
to Lutheran
you
church.
man.
Wow.
I'm like, it's all
He's a
good.
playboy. A denomination
I'm
playboy.
All these
I'm a
churches.
spiritual playboy.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Any denomination do for me. I am not picky. Bring them all here. I'll get cozy with them all.
Man.
So anyway, but those are some of the things, issues on salvation. So and these are things that divide the church, but they also seem to divide couples, people.
So the thing is like you are counseling a lot of couple premarital counseling and then
if they want
marriage counseling
Yeah.
too. And I am right now in our marriage, so we are dealing with this stuff ongoing. And you, Timmy, as Timmy said, you are not in a relationship yet. So you are from a perspective
but you can
like
call in and get Timmy's telephone number. We do pass it out along with his email address.
my point was that
you better
for
be
you,
saved.
Timmy, maybe this is like a good heads up, like to think about. I think that oftentimes when I speak to girls that are single, they always say, "Oh, I want just a godly Christian man," and tra-la-la. And I wonder if we like understand the impacts of this thing and not only like, oh, they're Christian and that's great, but maybe it's not a big thing if you are meeting this person in the same context. You know,
That's
it's like
a bit
if,
difficult as well.
But that's the thing that tricks you up. You can go to the same church and you're thinking, oh, we think we go to the same church, we met at the same church,
Same
or
context,
conference or whatever,
everything,
yeah. And all of a sudden you find out. I mean, I think that surprised me was that I used to be the youth priest in a larger church, and what surprised me, I'm thinking like everyone thinks the same. Not
No.
even. And that's why I think a lot of people come to me for counseling, because they didn't come to me for premarital counseling.
when you could have told them.
When I could have told them and illuminated that here's an area of conflict or a challenge. And so what happens is now they have to come to me with all the pain of having two deep-rooted issues and not being able to resolve the conflict. So
what? Okay. So one thing is before you get married or engaged, maybe you should check off to take out those boxes. What, like we gave some examples, but are there more?
ooh, there's a lot more. I mean,
Maybe stand on the Bible. Like what is the Bible? Is it really God's word, or is it just a guidance book?
your biblical
Yeah.
view. So the view of the Bible, tithing.
Ooh, tithing, money.
There's things like how often should we go to church? Should we help out at church? Should we not help out at church? There's things like
Should our kids be involved in the church?
Should our kids
we
be-
force our kids to
Go to church?
Sunday school and things like that?
do we read the Bible at home? How often do we read the Bible? So I have a friend who, let's see, his wife wants him to read the Bible every day. She said, "Can we just read the Bible together for 30 minutes?" And he says, "Nope, you're not on my level."
Ooh,
So so they're both Christian, love Jesus and everything, and yet and still they're not really synchronized where they could be. She wants to read the Bible with her husband. He says no, that's just stupid. But he does that, or they're like praying. So there's couples who have a struggle. One of them prays, the other one doesn't want to pray or doesn't feel comfortable praying out loud, doesn't feel comfortable praying the way they do. So I mean, when I moved here and people were lighting candles, 'cause where I come from, you light candles, that's the voodoo lady. You go to Voodoo Lady's house. She's like, I got this St. Thomas candle. I'll light it for you. And now we can get in spirit. Spirit of St. Thomas is here. Waka, waka, waka.
Oh, wow. But that's a culture background.
Yeah.
Nah, no, people have here you use candles to pray.
Yeah.
But where I come from, that was just Voodoo Lady.
Yeah, that's a culture background.
No, but the Catholic Church could do it too.
Yeah, but then also from my context, when you use the candle sometimes to pray.
Yeah, anyway. So we know that. So you two should not get married then.
Yeah, Timmy's like lighting the candle. I'm like, Let me practice in that voodoo in my house. Sinner. I'll be running after you with oil. I'll be like trying to anoint you, like, drive it out.
So, okay, let's say that you are in a relationship now, and now you're finding out. You're like, thank you, Ed and Lynn and Timmy.
Oh, well.
It's a bit late because now we're married.
You're stuck now. Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the whole thing is that when you have differences, it's always your choice to decide how to react to something. You choose to be angry. You choose to be, irritated about something. Sometimes you just have to, you find out stuff later on. Sometimes you just got to suck it up and just, and
pray to God.
Nobody accept that you're different.
But
just say,
it could also happen that while you may be in a relationship, everything was still fine and you guys had very similar perceptions. But as you get married, your perception on certain things changes completely because of your experiences or things that you have witnessed from other people.
Well, that's true.
So it does happen that sometimes you do change along the way and you don't want things to be done in a certain way because of the way you've seen.
Mr. Deep.
Something deep. He said, if you guys could see him, he's laying back on the couch. He's like all suave. He's just like, so if you just,
Okay, I'm sitting up straight now.
That's all right, Mr. Deep. All right.
But the thing is,
ladies, he's a deep man. I'm just telling you.
I think the difference is like one thing is to just theoretically have these differences, like salvation. Say both are saved, both are Christians, and then you have like Jonas and me. We can have different opinions on certain theological questions, but it's not like it impacts our day-to-day life in the same way. Maybe it would impact how when people would ask us about this, we would get different answers. But what about like someone wants to change churches because I don't know, they are one person like, oh, I don't think women should preach, and the other one's like, I like this church, but here women preach. So what do you do? Because that actually affects your everyday life.
Yeah. Should have asked earlier.
Yeah, but like sometimes these things don't pop up. Hence, we are here for the podcast.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here because when they do pop up, you just turn back and say, "Oh, Fika for Life saved me." No, but I think that's one of the most difficult things is that as you're journeying in life together, and these things just kind of pop up, whatever, because you didn't ask the question beforehand.
Even if you asked it, maybe you didn't think it was such an issue.
Yeah.
Or maybe the person thought one thing then, and like you said, Timmy, they think another thing now. And so when conflict comes up, you always have to deal with it. And sometimes
how
you
do
just
you deal
have
with it?
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
sometimes
you agree to
disagree.
Definitely.
Yeah, but
for the sake of peace.
Yeah, I understand that. But what if one person wants to go to church A where women can preach, and the other one wants to church B because women are not allowed to preach? I mean, that is the practical thing there. And obviously, you can say, yes, you think like that, and I think like that. But now they gotta make a decision to where to go.
Maybe not go to the same church.
Yes.
So I'm not one of those. I know. I just said the taboo thing because couples are supposed to worship together.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you keep the peace. Seek after peace. That's what the word of God says. It's not conducive for anyone to live in a house where you guys are just bickering at each other about something you cannot come to agree.
But it's not about bickering. It's more about, I don't know. It feels really strange that church should divide a household.
It's not
like
Jesus said that. He says, I'm coming to divide a household. A father against his mother. I'm coming to give you a sword. I mean, it's all in there. Jesus said that.
No, Ed.
Yes, he said so. I read that. No, but I think that sometimes, in spite of our biggest desire is for peace and unity.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just can't happen. And I think in those cases, say if I was married to someone who didn't believe in women in female leadership, and we were going to a church Like, I don't even know how we would meet at a church with a woman who was a pastor.
No, you maybe met at a different church, and now you moved to another city, and
But in
she's now looking for her
in that
church.
case, what happens? I think most people in that situation, they would just keep moving around until they found the church that both would click with. So what happens is, because there's no unity, you may be missing out on really good churches that you could be a part of, because there's no unity. And until there's unity, you maybe can't even decide on a church.
What do you mean by unity? Sorry.
That you're in agreement.
There's an agreement.
Okay.
So
that are like convictions you have. So I feel it's really hard to. It's not an opinion. It's like a conviction. It's what you believe is right.
But then you probably won't find a church home. You'll just. What would usually happen? There's a lot of people who are Christian, who, because of the disunity within their relationship, they can't find a church to belong to.
Yeah.
So
they rather want to be a couple than to maybe go to different churches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being a couple is such a strong identity thing for them, and it's a strong identity than Christian. So what happens is they don't go to any church, or they just kind of go to a church here and there, but they're not really part of any community where they can grow and serve. So they're actually missing out on something really
exactly.
important.
But we can also look into the fallibility of how we actually as Christians approach relationships. Most of the time, are we approaching relationships like, she's a Christian? Yeah, that's it. I found her.
Check.
The biggest
Looks
box is
good.
ticked. Looks good. Can make me babies. That's it.
That's your thing.
Can cook.
I have never looked at any woman and said, she can make babies. I'm like...
And you can see her from the outside, girl.
You know.
Timmy has this special thing.
X-ray eyes.
That's his special spiritual gift. He can look at a woman and say, you can have good babies. But you on the end there?
You're raisin.
It's too late for you.
No. Yeah, but it literally makes us look into, and if we are actually if we are dating, are we asking each other these very difficult and intimate questions about our relationship with God? Because we need to understand each other's level of Christianity and with God before we can actually understand ourselves.
Oh my gosh, I can hear so many girlfriends here like, oh my gosh, it's already hard enough to find a Christian guy. Now you want to find me the right Christian guy.
Yes. But then that's why I'm saying there's a problem there. Because the market is not really huge in Sweden.
No.
Yes, it is.
Think about it.
You just know you have to know where to go.
Where do you go?
Where?
That's a secret thing. That costs money. So if you would like to know, you sow a seed of faith into our ministry, and we will let you know. I'll give you all that good old inside information.
Please lead me to the greener pasture.
Exactly.
To the pastures, the green pastures by the water.
Lead me to that deep source right there, where I can just dip my cup in and just quench my thirst.
Okay, going back to our topic.
Yeah, we're not distracted again.
Yeah, we're easily distracted. So you're saying that, just to summarize this, so you're saying that sometimes for the sake of Christ, you gotta split your unity with your partner. If, let's say, one person says, oh, but I don't know, one person only wants to sing hymns and the other one wants to sing Hillsong worship.
Oh, wow. That's another thing.
So you gotta then split, you mean?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could say, oh, but then we could do it every other week or something. But I'm like, no.
Otherwise, exactly. Otherwise, you find a compromise. So I'll go to your service sometimes. You go to my service sometimes. I think it dulls a relationship because it's a lot of bookkeeping. How many times have we gone to your church, to my church? And I think that sometimes, growing as a Christian, being part of a community is more important sometimes than just the couple hanging out together. There is no biblical demand that couples go to the same church.
Yes.
That is our demand.
Do you say, there is not?
I completely agree with that. There's no in the Bible it says that.
Yeah, that's just.
But it's our idea. It's like our.
It is. It's our idea. It's something we cooked up because it sounds because it sounds good. It sounds romantic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I met this person, and it was like so wonderful. We met at the same church, and like we have like similar views, and now we worship God in the same way because we all want that. Yeah, the thing is that we know that produces a good relationship. We know that it would be wonderful to be synchronized spiritually with someone. We know that. And that's why we have these crazy rules because we know what we gain, and we know that
it's a bit of
we don't have it, we lose.
Like using that scripture was like, man shall leave his mother and father, and will be joined with his wife, and they shall become one. Where we've used cleaved to the wife, we've used this completely out of context.
So it should be one in everything.
Ooh, wow.
But I'm wondering, don't you see any like pitfalls when a couple goes to different churches? Aren't there any risk with that?
Yeah, flirt with other people when your wife or husband is not around.
Well, I think that could become also the traditions and the way things are done as well.
But what do you do with the children?
Exactly.
That's a very sensitive topic.
But that becomes a problem though, because parents are given the responsibility by God to raise their children, to know Him, and to follow Him. And what happens is that some of these things that divide us actually get in the way of doing that thing. So I wouldn't. I mean, if I was, I mean, how do you say this? Okay, I'm very evangelical, very conservative in my theology, and I think that maybe someone who's more into the faith movement, that there's some aspect of that would be okay. Then there's other things that I don't agree with. And if it's possible that I can disagree with those things with my spouse, who actually loves those things, and we can still have unity and peace together, then that's one thing. But often I feel as though that's not where we are at. What happens is that we're fighting, and each person's digging a big hole and shooting at the other person,
and everyone is falling in each other's trenches.
And so we need to encourage people, I think, to
I think
find a
the
better
most
way.
important thing about when you have children, you need to consider the fact that you do not infringe or force your own perceptions or what you are standing for on your children. That's unfair.
What about?
Oh, I disagree with you on that one. Now you're crazy.
I got a question here. What about the thing that the man should be the head of the household and the wife should submit? So
it's in the Bible.
Yeah, it says in the Bible. So how do you guys feel about that in combination to, we just go to different churches because we have different convictions?
Yeah, but
and the husband says, "Nah, I want us to go to one church."
Well, I mean, that's a similar thing, but I think it's like a totally different, because now we're looking at an interpretation of the Bible. So we're not just looking at our view of the Bible, how true do we think it is, how much place it takes in our life. We're looking at a pattern of interpretation. And the problem with that is that you can always find, if you already have made up your mind about something that is true, you can always find an expert who can justify what you say.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't necessarily help us to find truth, but it helps us to justify our position. And then you get down to that sort of sticky area that you took up, Lynn. And I think that when you come to that level of it, you might end up getting closer to divorce.
Yeah.
If you're playing the "I'm the man of the house" card. So you better compromise on your convictions.
Because the only way you play that is that you haven't really lived it out. You shouldn't have to say it. So what happens?
So it's more manipulation there.
Yeah. No, not manipulation. It's just that. So I'm the pastor of the church, and there's certain responsibilities and roles that I have. There's things I can do, but it doesn't mean I have to do them. And so what you have to do, you have to sort of, the influence that you have to manage that. And you don't.
What do you mean?
He can misuse it, or
you can when you use authority, you should use it sparingly. You should never just take it up all the time just to win an argument or to make your point. You only do it when you really feel that it's necessary and you've explored all the other avenues. And I think with this thing about the role of men and women in relationship, if you don't find that out before you get married, you're just asking for pain. Because it's something you should ask about. It's something just like, do you have an alcohol or drug problem?
No,
because if you meet someone and you don't ask that question,
which one about?
If you have an alcohol or drug problem, if you don't find out about the person and you find out later about it, you're going to kick yourself in the butt that you never thought about it. So I think there's certain questions that we ask kind of early on.
Yeah. I mean, that's what. I don't think that's what I meant. What I meant was like, let's say, it has always been like that. Whatever, the man is the leader of the house, and the woman is submitting to the man, but they still have these different convictions. Does it then mean that the husband decides, since we've always done it that way, and you don't like that, I don't know, the worship is that way at this church, but I want us as a family to go to this church now
and do this
and do this. So my question is then, does the woman, because it's her conviction, like she can't change her mind about it, or do you mean like, oh, she just gotta accept it if they have before talked about this kind of agreement, the role of man and woman in a relationship?
If you got married to someone, you lock yourself into something.
No way.
And that means that if I didn't do the homework ahead of time, sometimes there's a kind of high price to pay.
So you mean just suck it up? Because
so I mean that's a very broad statement. So
I know I'm not trying to be. I'm being very
exactly. Because now I feel like you're dodging it.
I'm a theologian, baby.
Yeah, because
a theologian's like an eel. You try to grab me, and I just slip away. I'm like, oh.
That's very broad.
Yeah, but it has to be broad. It has to be broad because how you answer this kind of question, you have to look at a specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple that's gotten together, and if they've established they want to live that way, so they want to live where the man is sort of the leader of the household and the woman is, in the supporting kind of role or whatever.
Whatever.
Well, I mean,
partner.
Well, I mean, but
supporting partner.
It depends. I've seen some horrible examples of that. Okay, I'm like, my husband's in charge, but I tell him what to do. Okay, I got you.
We feel that.
Tell me what it's all about. No, and so I think that one of the things in that is to try to analyze when you become a couple, how are we going to be a couple, and what way are we going to be a couple. And that sort of dictates how you're going to address those kind of issues. If it's just all of a sudden they never had that issue, and now because he's losing the argument, he's like, well, the Bible says that the man's the head of the household, and so, you better do what I say. And she's like, what the? When did that happen? When did you grow a pair? You never had them. You didn't have them before. What's wrong with you? And so I think that's one of those, like, people introduce new things to win an argument into a relationship. So it's hard. That's why I have to be kind of general about this issue. Good. So we probably have only scratched the surface of this. The serpent. We've only scratched the serpent of this. And so this might be something for us. If you guys want us to pick this up again and talk more about this in more detail, why don't you drop us a line? You decide what we talk about. You decide how the podcast goes. You are our biggest fan. No, we are your biggest fan.
What?
Yeah, now Ed's just tired.
I'm sorry.
We should end this podcast now.
Yes. All right. If you have any further questions, please write to us at Fika for Life.
Yeah.
Thank you, Timmy, for being our guest today.
Again.
Thank you for hosting.
You're a really good guest, and we really are so happy when you fly in from South Africa and you share with us your deep wisdom, of your 3 years in Sweden. And to my co-host,
Lynn.
Did you have anything to say?
No, I just want to say bye.
She just wants to go home and eat.
Thank you guys for listening. And please, tune in soon again.
Yes. Yeah. The same Fika time, same Fika channel.
Yes.
I was trying to be cool about that. It didn't work. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments or ideas, please send us a message to fikaforlife@mail.com. Fika, F-I-K-A. This was the Fika for Life podcast with Linh and Edward Thomas, and we hope to hear you again.